Ladies and gentlemen, young people, it's a privilege to be here today in the sunny kingdom of Pettigo. Thank you very much for coming, and as Mary has already said, this has been planned for quite some time now. When her and I sat down in the Southwest Acute Hospital way back many months ago and had a conversation around mental health issues and what could we do. And I want to thank her and Maureen, who have put out an immense amount of work in this. Late hours, early mornings, preparation, and I think that no one knows what has gone into today. And the very fact that you're here today makes it all so worthwhile for them, and I'm glad about that. My background is I've worked in mental health now for 35, 36 years. I worked for many years with Mary in Fermanagh Hospital. See another colleague here, Geraldine, who we worked many years with in a hospital setting. And I'm very conscious today that there are at least three types of people here. There are those that have came to be better informed, just to get a sense of what this is about, to improve their knowledge base in terms of mental health. And that's very good of you to come and do that. I'm also very conscious there are people here who maybe care for somebody who has struggled with mental health issues. And they're sometimes at a crossroads and that they don't know where to go with it. And I hope today is helpful for you, not only from what you hear from the platform, but also what you see around you in terms of stalls. And lastly, but by no means least, I'm very conscious there's someone maybe here today that's not in a good place in terms of their own mental health and well-being. And while we can see someone walk into the door today with a broken arm or a bruise and a bandage, we can't very often see that in terms of their emotions and where they're feeling mentally. And that their emotions are the source of an awful lot of the person that we are. And yet in many instances we don't see that. And that today I hope that you find is useful, and today is useful for you. And we all know life can present its challenges. It's 1 in 4 people they estimate would suffer from a depression illness at some time in their life. And depression is no respecter of people, rich or poor, famous or infamous, Protestant, Catholic, whatever religion or denomination, it is no respecter of people. And that's why I'm really glad to see a connectivity today of everybody, because we're all human at the end of the day, no matter what other place we be in our life. And I suppose look at it like this here. It's very often like going to the bank. And maybe when things were better, we used to go to the bank and we used to maybe invest and put stuff in. But sometimes of late, we go to the bank and we're doing more withdrawals to this, to that, and the other. And I liken that sometimes to our mental well-being. Sometimes we're withdrawing so much. We're going, we're doing, we're being, we get into a place of exhaustion. And life can very much become like that, where it's all about withdrawal out of that emotional bank. And very often there's not enough invested and put into that emotional bank to improve your place and your emotional well-being. And you know as well as I do, when we continually to withdraw out of that bank, one day those checks will bounce and there's nothing there. And so it is with our health physically. Once we get into an emotional bad place, it will affect our physical health. The signs will show. It will affect our emotional health. The signs will show. And that's very often what I liken it to. I often think of the case of where you go to the airport in Dublin or Knock or Belfast. And you as an individual can be carrying a suitcase that is extremely heavy. and someone comes up to you and says, "Sir, can I take your case and lighten your load?" And you say to that person, "No, I'm fine, thank you," and you keep going. Someone else will come up to you with a trolley, and they will say, "Here, put your case on the trolley. It will lighten your load." But you say, "No, I'm fine." You go further down that airway or that airport, and there's an escalator that will take you to your desk. But again, you choose to walk. You would say that's a very strange and bizarre way to be, when there was something there that could help you. And yet, how often do we as people carry weights, carry burdens, carry stressors that very often, if we shared, could have led us to a better place? And I say that to me in my life, and I say that to you. There's times we carry things that really we shouldn't have had to. And that's why I'm really glad today, and I want to commend and thank the organisations here especially. I thank you all, but I want to especially thank those that are here today who provide help in a confidential, safe place where you can lift the phone, where you can pick up a little card, where you can go to an office, and you can confidentially and safely share and talk. And I encourage the community around here to avail of those services. They are so brilliant, they are so fantastic, and I commend and thank them for what they do. Because sometimes our life we can feel we're in a balloon. You try and get out of here, you try to get out of it there, that problem, but that balloon, you're just caught in that rubber, and you just bounce back into that bad place. You just bounce back into it. Some time ago, my wife went and bought a thing called a NutriBullet. I don't know if you have seen them. They're like a blender. They're a fantastic little gadget where you just cut up your veg, or you cut up your fruit, or you put in your grains, and you get a nice healthy drink, which gives you every nutrient, every vitamin, every mineral that you need for good health. And I have to say they are very, very good. And I want today just to be that for you, that this is your NutriBullet, where you're going to take in and find yourself challenged, and stimulated and enthused by what you see and what you hear around you. And I don't want to rant all day, because I could talk all day. But I just want to think about one little word today, in what time I've left. I want to think about that word called stress. Stress is not a sign that you're a weak person. It's not a sign that you're a bad coper. It's not a mental health problem in itself. But in the seesaw of life, where we used to take the children to the park, over here is you, your strengths, your skills, your gifts. And over here is the demands that life can place on you, in family, in relationship, in work. And very often people can get weighed down, that the gifts, the talents, the enthusiasm can all of a sudden just get lost. And what we want is to get that balance back again, that we're getting ourselves in a right foot. S-T-R-E-S-S. S stands for sleep. All of us need sleep. And sometimes we just get so busy and so activated and so stimulated that we go to bed with a head that's full of everything. I remember when I was a child, it used to be the custom, and I carried it through with my three, that you had to be in bed at a certain time at night. You all remember those days? Now, I'm not saying we have to be in bed at a certain time at night. But what I am saying is we should get into a habit of a regular and a proper routine that we take ourselves and switch off. And that should be where the mobile phone, the computers, the demands, the expectations, all of a sudden there's a time where you shut down. That maybe even turn the television off, and maybe having a time of stillness and quietness, either with yourself or with someone who you can have a talk and share with. That we're reducing that intake of caffeine, that heavy meal, that excessive exercise maybe that we're doing last thing at night because we haven't time to do it during the day, which is building up adrenaline in your system. The importance of sleep, because when we sleep, we physically and mentally are restored and renewed. And it's so important that we get sleep. T in stress stands for talk. The importance of talking, and as a mental health therapist for years, the importance of being able to, that someone can feel safe to talk is so important. Confidentiality, trust. It's estimated that somewhere in the region of 70 to 80% of people, when they were asked what helped their depression, they said the fact that I could talk and felt listened to. That is really important. It's not often the antidepressant medication. Sometimes it's a chance to talk, to open up. Because your wee mind and mine, we will generate somewhere in the region of 80,000 thoughts a day. That is a scientific fact. 80,000 thoughts will enumerate around your head a day. And if those thoughts increasingly come in a negative way, all of a sudden they can become fact. And that's what leads people quite in simplistic language to develop a depression. It's not a wise thing or most appropriate thing, but we're in an audience where there's maybe ladies, but if you look at cement, cement is made by putting in sand, cement, and water. You mix it up, and you can get the trowel and you can lift that cement and you can do what you want with it. It's fluid. But if you allow cement to sit and sit, what happens? It hardens and it becomes established. And so it is emotionally and mentally. If we allow a negative thought to keep staying in there, it becomes like a little tape. That when someone says to you, I want you to come, I want you to do, I want you to be, all of a sudden, while initially you get a wee spark, all of a sudden that tape goes, I can't. I'm not good enough. I don't want to go out of the door. And that tape plays in your head. And one thing I want you to do today, if you're in that place, I want you to recognize that tape. And I want you to cut it up. And I want you to destroy it. I want you to be able to talk and open up and share in a safe, confidential place. Because talking does help. R in stress stands for rest. Rest. Today people are becoming more and more activated. They're becoming more and more doers and not takers. Even when we retire, there's always some organisation to be involved in. And a lot of it is so good. It really, really is. But sometimes you're left and you can become a thing called a servaholic. You can become a servaholic where you're continually serving and giving to everybody else. And it becomes like an alcoholic, an addiction. Oh, but I have to be, I have to do, I have to go. And all of a sudden that mentality of servaholic can get in, and all of a sudden you're weighed in the balance with weight. body, your mind need rest, men and women and young people. It needs rest. And I want to encourage you to think about some hobby, some interest, something that all of a sudden has got lost in your journey of your life. E stands for that we take time to eat, that we take time to exercise. So many people nowadays, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, but sometimes I get frustrated when I see in shops food to go. Food to go. In other words, you keep going and you keep eating. It's not how it's meant to be. We need to take time to eat. We need to take time to sit down and not gulp. We take time to taste and chew and enjoy. And that is so important for your health and your well-being. That your body's getting the added nutrients, vitamins and minerals of the right types of food. The benefits of exercise. That walk. Because walking is nature's antidepressant. Sometimes, people can go to a doctor quite innocently, not knowing. And sometimes, your body and mind can get so stressed that nature would have us that we need just to get out and get a good, brisk, fresh walk in the fresh air, in among the trees. Because when you walk, a fantastic little thing happens in your brain. Your body produces a little chemical called endorphins. And those endorphins are happy chemicals. And not only can stress be taken away, but those endorphins actually produce a good feel-good factor in your mind. And people often say, I went for a walk and I feel better. That is actually scientifically correct. Because your mind has produced more endorphins. You've taken time away from that schedule, that time away of child mind and demands of people, demands of work. It's draining you, and you've taken time for yourself. And that's really, really, really good. The last two S's in the word stress. Stress stands for support. There's times you need support, men and women. You can't do it alone. You're not a robot, you're not a machine. And you need to share the load out. And let me leave you with the 4 Ds. The 4 Ds, there's things you do. There's things you don't do. There's things you delay. And there's things you delegate. And you get that 4 Ds into your life. And take that as a little capsule for you. And you take those Ds of do, I don't, I used to. There's things you delegate. I used to do it all myself. But they're qualified, they're capable, they have free time. And there's things you delay. It's not a priority today. You take those 4 Ds with you if you remember nothing else for your emotional and mental well-being. And the last S is spiritual. And I know there's times today for guided prayer, and that's an aspect of probably mental health that people don't talk about. They're not particularly comfortable to talk about it, particularly in our own culture and way of life, and because of maybe our history and things. But it is an important area of your life. And I would encourage you, as a Christian, God has said to us this: God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And maybe that void in your life maybe has become casual, it's indifferent, maybe you've been hurt. But I want you to just examine your own life in terms of your own faith, wherever that may be if you have. And think about that. Because I think it's a really important cornerstone of all our lives. I'll close with this thought. Our life can get so busy. There used to be a time I used to go to the car. And I used to turn on the radio. And I had 3 daughters, I still have. But the radio station I used to listen to all of a sudden had gone into bump, 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 into something completely different. But I had to get the little dial and I had to get back into tune with the station I knew. I know that voice. I used to love sport, sort of Radio 5 life. And then I knew the presenter. I got to know where here, this is it, this is it. And our lives need to sometimes get back into that tune. That you start to get back to who you are. And get yourself in tune again with yourself. Emotions have led to some terrible tragedies in people's lives. I've met them, I've talked with them, I've shared. But emotions have also the power for good. Compassion, care, enthusiasm. And there's so much good can come from them. And I want you to get back into that place that you feel that in your own life. Thank you for today. Thank you for coming. And I hope today is beneficial and helpful.